whole lot. Imagine if they ever win like the championship. I say world champion Orioles, the first place Orioles. At least I can say that. Headed to San Diego, where they rarely play, and that's a damn shame because they got great fish tacos, a beautiful ballpark, and this guy gets that action all the time. We had him here last week before these short series. We welcomed Jesse Agler back on from the Padres as well as from Fox out in San Diego, calling all of the Padres action. Man, these little 2-game series are killing you guys traveling around with these teams, right?
Yeah, they're always a little bit weird. I mean, this was a strange trip we just got back from to Baltimore and Cincinnati. We had 2 games against the O's and then 4 against the Reds. So I just for my own, purposes as a broadcaster, I like the 3-game series. I think they're the right length. The 2-game series, you feel like you're just getting going and then you're out of there, and then the 4-game series seems to drag on forever. So it is what it is. It's the same for every team pretty much when all is said and done. But the 2-game sets are definitely a little bit weird, especially when the other team comes right back the next week, as is the case here with the Padres and the O's.
It's not even that. I mean, these 2 games this week in San Diego, one's at 7, the next is at noon, and get on the bus and get out. I mean, this is you're barely going to be there 24 hours if you're the Orioles, and I know that's much to Adam Jones's chagrin, but the Padres played a little better in Cincinnati over the weekend, and we'll get to Pete Rose and all that momentarily, but you seeing any signs that they're a better team in June than they were in maybe April?
Well, they're definitely hitting better in June. They're actually hitting better than any other team in the National League this month. So that's not the issue. The problem is they just haven't pitched well. And that's not as simple as saying the pitchers haven't pitched well. I mean, the number of guys they have gone through in the starting rotation already this year is really incredible. Their opening day starter, right? That's supposed to be your best guy. Their opening day starter has not pitched since opening day. Think about that. That's Tyson Ross for the Padres. He got a shoulder injury that day. He didn't feel right. Came out. We haven't seen him since. And that's a long time, man. We're almost in July. So
how many starters? Really 9 have they had? 10?
I think they're up to 10 now.
Okay.
Yeah. And James Shields obviously was traded, so that added in. I mean, they've got guys in the rotation right now who, when I say they weren't even on the radar at the end of spring training, they weren't. As far as being starting pitchers go. So they're trying to make it happen as best they can. I guess the good news is, I think they're 13-11 this month, and it's because they've been hitting so well. So overall, it's probably their best win-loss month. Overall, it's definitely their hitting month that's been the best, but it's not been a great pitching month because they've just had to go to so many different guys.
Orioles going to see Friedrich in this series, and I know it's been the guy you probably want to avoid is Pomerantz, and he's coming on as well. Just thought about the pitching and some stability there. For the Orioles, they didn't have an 8th or 9th or 10th guy to bring up from the organization. The Padres are in a unique position of sort of tinkering here to figure out what they have. I mean, the season's pretty much a lost cause at this point. Now it's about trying to figure out who's going to be on the team next April, right?
I don't think it's even just April. I mean, it's who's going to be on the team in the second half of the season, who's going to be on this team before the trade deadline, and who's going to be on this team after the trade deadline. You start seeing these guys' names out there in trade rumors, and one thing we've learned about the Padres GM is he's not going to make a deal just for the sake of making a deal. He's got to actually, legitimately like the return he's getting, or obviously get major salary relief, which was the case with Shields. So, I think everybody is sort of auditioning. Yeah, you're right, for next April, but also for, before and after the trade deadline. They're auditioning for other teams. It'll be really interesting to see how they sort of go with these guys as time goes on.
Jesse Agler can be followed at Jesse Agler on Twitter as well as anywhere the Padres are. He is, including out in San Diego where the Orioles will be for the next couple of days and trying to beat up on the Padres before the All-Star game. Who are the guys that you see that will be gone on August 1st, that there's just no way the Padres won't get a deal? I mean, look, everybody's going to be a buyer. There's plenty of teams out there looking for talent. There aren't a whole lot of sellers out there right now with quality players.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that probably is the most obvious one would be John Jay. He got hit by a pitch in Baltimore, actually,
right.
Or I think in Washington the day before, and hasn't played since, about a week ago. But it's a bone bruise. He'll be back. It's just a forearm thing. It's nothing too serious. But he's played a really, really nice center field as the time has gone on this season. And on top of that, he's hit really, really well, particularly against lefties. And as a left-handed hitter, I think that would be something that's attractive to a lot of teams. He's a free agent at the end of the year. They traded Jed Jerko to St. Louis at the winter meetings to get him. So he, to me, is sort of the obvious guy to go. But if you would have asked me the question last year, I probably would have said Ian Kennedy, because he was going into his free agent year. He was building a lot of value. And A.J. Preller, the general manager, didn't love anything he heard from these other teams. When it came to offers for him, he held on to him and he took the draft pick. And that's something he's more than willing to do. So it could end up being the same situation for Jay, where he'll take that, compensatory pick they get when somebody signs one of your free agents. But it's a little tough to just guarantee something, but to me, he would be the guy at the top of the list. Outstanding outfielder, hitting really well this year, doing a great job getting on base. And once he sort of gets past, this little minor bruise from the hit by pitch, I think there'll be a lot of teams calling on him.
I know more was expected of Kemp, and I think to some degree it's been a little bit of the Will Myers show, right? I mean, for Padres fans this year.
No question. Will Myers, this is his emergence. This is his coming out party, his bursting onto the scene, whatever cliche you want to use. I just talked about how hot the bats have been in June. He's leading the way. He may legitimately end up being the National League Player of the Month. When this month comes to an end in just a couple of days. It's been incredible to watch him. And he never really had a position before. He came up as an infielder, a third baseman, and then, in the minor leagues in Kansas City, they moved him to the outfield. And then he got to Tampa Bay in the James Shields trade from KC to Tampa, and he was all of a sudden like a different outfielder there. He wins Rookie of the Year, and then he just hasn't been able to stay healthy in the years since, and that includes last year with the Padres. And this year he's healthy. They've anchored him at first base. They're not making him go play the outfield. He's getting really, really good at first base, and his offensive numbers are just outstanding. He's been healthy. He's been productive. I don't think there's any question he's like the lead story right now as far as the Padres go. You do hear his name in trade rumors, and I think most fans here are like, come on, let's hang on to this guy. He's young. He's bursting onto the scene. He's got a great personality. He's loved. He's just a really easygoing guy. He fits in very nicely, I think, here in San Diego, from sort of like a fan-player standpoint. But, if some team were to offer the moon for him, and I think that's what it would take, I imagine they would listen. But you're absolutely right. He has been the story for this team this year.
I guess if it's not him in the All-Star game in a few weeks, Fernando Rodney finally giving up an earned run, right?
Yeah. And we didn't think it was going to be necessarily. It looked like maybe an error on Myers, and Myers said after the game, hey, I'll take the error. That should be an unearned run. But that appeal was denied. So he does have an ERA now, 0.3 whatever. At this point in the season is pretty crazy. He's been outstanding. He's another guy I imagine a lot of teams will be calling on. Very friendly contract both this year and next year. So, look, you know how it goes. You get into mid-July, you get into late July, there are contending teams out there, and they look at themselves and they say, you know what, I don't really love our eighth-inning guy, or I don't really love our ninth-inning guy. And Fernando Rodney would be a very, very attractive option there. But it's also been nice for the Padres because when they're getting these leads, it's been automatic, at the back end, and that's such a nice thing to have.
Jesse Agler covering all things Padres out in San Diego, where the Birds will be this weekend. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Jesse Agler. That's Agler. For the All-Star game and for preparations now that you're back in San Diego, last year in Cincinnati, I was there, and I know you were there this weekend. It was a big, big deal there. Even a month out, walking around downtown and seeing it. We haven't had that here. This was supposed to be our turn. This was supposed to be our All-Star game this year. Mr. Angelos' lawsuit with his partners have cost us that. But for San Diego, I'm thinking they're probably rolling out the carpet there, and you're starting to see all those All-Star game signs down in the gas lamp. And I'm sure there's other stuff going on. For me, incredible sadness that Tony Gwynn's not a part of this, and Ted Williams, another San Diego legend there. What kind of festivities are they planning out there other than those fantastic warm-up uniforms we talked about last week?
It's everything. I can't even keep track of how much stuff is going on. It's literally all over town. And it's not just all over the gas lamp, by the ballpark and sort of that touristy area. I mean, you go out into the suburbs, you go up to North County. It's just sort of the northern reaches of the San Diego area. You go down across the border into Mexico. There is all-star stuff everywhere. This region is embracing it in a really big way. The Padres and MLB are working really, really hard to make this like just a massive, massive community event. And I use the term community as broadly as I possibly can because, like I said, it's going across an international border. It's going all the way up towards Anaheim. It's going as east as the mountains and the desert. Everybody within however many miles of San Diego is very well aware that the Major League Baseball All-Star Game is going to be here in a couple of weeks. And there's events for kids. There's events for autograph-type people. There's events for fans. There's opportunities to meet your heroes, whether those are people from the 70s or the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s or the 2010s. It's really exciting. There's like a major, major buzz around the town. There's no question.
I want to have fish tacos with Trevor Hoffman. That's what I want to do before it's all
There
over with, man. Hey, enjoy this little homestand here. Any thoughts on the Pete Rose thing over the weekend to witness that? I sort of watched the highlights of it and saw that. It is a fascinating thing to see Cincinnati's love for Pete Rose, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fascinating but not surprising. Now, look, if you're not a Cincinnati person, if you're not a Red fan, I get it. You're looking at that all weekend, and I heard this from Padres fans. You're looking at that and you're rolling your eyes, right? And you're going, this guy is a piece of whatever. He bet on baseball. He lied about it. He kept lying about it. He admitted part of it. Then he lied about some more. So I get all that. But I also understand that in Cincinnati, he is the favorite son. He is the guy. He is a hometown hero. He's got more hits than anybody else. Basically, everybody who grew up in Cincinnati as a baseball fan between 1960 and 1990, which is a long time, that's several generations of people, he's their favorite player. That's it. And they've had all those great Hall of Famers. They had the Big Red Machine. They had the 1990 team that won the World Series. But he is as big as it gets there. And because Major League Baseball, understandably, has kept him at arm's length for the last 25 years, this was the opportunity for all of that to finally come out for Cincinnati. So I get why they did it. I have no problem with them doing it. I appreciate Rob Manfred saying to the Reds, you know what, go ahead and have at it. Bud Selig never let them. That's why they have never retired his number. That's why he had never been in the Reds Hall of Fame. He was not allowed to go. Bud Selig said, no, I don't care if it's your Hall of Fame. He's not going in. Rob Manfred loosened that. He gave Cincinnati the opportunity to celebrate him. I've got no problem with that. I really don't. Now, I also have no problem with people looking at it cynically from the outside, but being there, I get it. I get it completely. He is their guy, and good for him. Good for them. They had their weekend, and the rest of us can all move on with our lives now.
All right, man. Enjoy the All-Star game. Enjoy this quick little set of Orioles baseball. Always great catching up with you, Jess.
Sure thing, Nestor. Take care.
You got it. Jesse Agler covering all things Padres out in San Diego. The Orioles are out there very, very briefly. I mean, in and out on Tuesday and Wednesday and gone up to Seattle, the weekend in Seattle, and then down to play the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium on the 4th of July. That would have been a nice little summer baseball trip there, although I made all my travels last year. I'm off the baseball banquet circuit this year, although the All-Star game in San Diego does hold some appeal, if you know what I mean. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Download the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear. And, of course, the morning newspaper hits your email inbox at 7 a.m. That's powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. And if there's any breaking news out on the West Coast for the Orioles or the Ravens are doing something, you'll get it first on the WNST Tech Service. That, of course, is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Thursday, driving you home from 3 until 5. I'll be dropping in with him. We got a lot of good stuff happening this summer, including during that All-Star Game week. I am presenting the WNST Rock Week, all of the classic interviews with Daryl Hall and Billy Joel and John Bon Jovi and David Bowie and Clarence Clemens, all the work I did back in the late 80s at the Baltimore Sun. I have all of those interviews on tape. They've never been heard before. I've been editing them over the last couple of weeks, and I will present them the week of July 11th. It's WNST Rock Week here, and you can learn more out on our Twitter and our Facebook and our LinkedIn. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.